Hi, everybody. I'm Stacy with the Wedding Expo, and we're here with the Wedding Pros talking about how to make alternate plans, how to schedule your wedding, and should you be worried about a date for now. So let's have everybody introduce themselves, and let's start with Brian. Let's have you start first. Tell us who you are, Brian.
Hello, I'm Brian I'm Brian with ABC Cake Shop and Bakery.
Great. Okay, Jill.
Hi, I'm Jill with Pure Romance Home Parties.
Perfect. And Marty?
I'm Marty Houghton. I'm with El Zocalo Event Center in Bernalillo.
Great. And your double time job is what for those?
I'm administrative assistant for the Tourism and Economic Development Department as a part of our 3 hats that we wear. So as a part of my job, I get to follow a lot of the close details of the governor's announcements and the restrictions, etc.
Someone you want on speed dial. Okay.
Yes,
Lane.
right? I'm going to say, wow. Nice.
Yeah, Lane, let's have you introduce yourself.
I'm Lane Van Horn. I'm in Sales and Catering Director for the Canyon Club.
Perfect. And Megan.
Hi, everybody. I'm Megan Brogan with Shutterforks Photography.
Great. And let me start with one of you venues, because you're the ones who are basically the ones who have had the hardest time with moving brides around. So, Lane, what about you? Have you had a lot of people that are having to postpone? And what's that done to your 21 dates when you've had all those people postponing and pushing? What's happening?
It's a weird thing. I did so well in the spring and last year that I was able to fill a lot of my summer, a lot of my fall already. So when the pandemic started, I had very limited Saturdays to marry because I had done so well. So I have been very accommodating to whatever they need as far as, soothing them, telling them it's not the Canyon Club, it's a statewide. I've tried to make some options. I have opened up to doing ceremonies for 5. If you want to get married on that day, I can do that for you. But I cannot have more than 5 or 6 people. And then I have done very tiny receptions of 6 on a patio. A lot of them don't want to go through that because they want all their friends. They want all the family. So pretty much I've told them that I will do whatever they want to do. I'll pick a day that nobody else is getting married, but I can only go above and beyond so far,
Yeah. So what do you do though? Because
I have not held any. What I do is I have the girls come in and we sit down and we look at different dates as options. I give them 3, and I do it by 2-month intervals. And so my April girls who had picked June dates, we have now gone to August and September. I have 2 of them left in July that won't budge. I can't get them to take into account all the guests, all the preparation. They want to wait until the very last minute.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I'm really good at a last minute wedding.
That's great. But now are you getting log jammed in 21 as you're pushing people back? Now are you getting more and more log jam? So what's your recommendation? Do these girls need to be jumping on a date and going for it?
Is what I'm telling them. If they're not picked a date yet, or if they're set, like Wedding Wire, it's so weird. I'm still getting calls for this year.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm telling them is, if we can allow to do so, I would more than love to host your wedding. Let's get all the details down. Let's get a banquet event order together. And then if it goes through, it goes through. And if it doesn't, then we'll pick a date, change nothing else but the date. And some of them are like, oh, that's great and everything, but I can't pick my flowers because I don't know if it's going to be a summer or a fall. And then I have a lady who's talking to Brian she doesn't know if she wants to go with a fall cake or a summer cake. And I kind of just say, you know what? It seems so stressful. Let's just use this August 1st date of 2021. And then we don't have to stress out about what's going to happen. We don't have to worry about your guest flying in from the East Coast, and then the locals are worried because you have East Coasters coming. Are they going to wear a mask? Let's not stress out anymore. Let's just do it next year. And I have a good response from some of them to say, you know what, you're right. Let's just give up 2020. Let me just do it next year.
Yeah.
And so that's what I do.
Yeah. But I'm just worried about these dates disappearing now because
Well, they
people
are.
want Saturday and Sundays.
They do.
Yeah.
They do it. You know what?
Marty, what about you? And are you offering them like Tuesday, Wednesday? I mean, as I've said, you know, with this whole situation, nothing's normal. So
Right.
I don't see where any guest is ever going to come at them and say, "What? You had it on a Thursday?" And be snitty about it. But are you offering them like weekdays, Marty?
We generally do because our pricing is structured only by peak and off-peak season. So we're always the same price for a Friday, Saturday, or a Monday, Thursday. And every once in a while, we'll get a booking where this date is, you know, I don't know, the date they had their first date, went out on a date for the first time was June 24th of whatever, so they don't care what day of the week it is already. And our pricing is structured that it's really, I don't have a way of offering a benefit without getting county approval for individual days. So what I'm finding is that, yes, we're getting a lot of our brides and couples at this point who they're ready for something concrete, even if it means, okay, one whole year from now, let's just pick up essentially the same date. Some want the Saturday that's closest, and some are like, nope, I'll just take exactly 1 year. But my clients that I'm talking to, they want some confidence in that the decision that they're making is concrete. It's, yes, this will be able to happen 1 year from now, and that's the feeling that I get. Our September this year was much like Lane was describing as October. We had actually, once I did my spring reschedules, and a lot of them went into September on the off days, I had actually 9 events booked for this September. And
Wow.
and since the governor spoke on the 11th, 2 of them canceled and 2 rescheduled into 2021. So that's when I think about alternate plans. Yes, we've got a pile of social distancing plans to offer them, and we can do a lot of things. But right now, I feel like the brides and grooms are coming to me and saying, I don't want a wedding where I can't hug my grandma.
Right.
And
Megan, what about you in terms of trying to get all these brides now squished into 20 and 21 dates? Are you having a problem managing the calendar?
The calendar is now my chessboard. It is always moving pieces, and it's trying our very best to find dates that will work for everyone. We are a limited commodity in that we can only shoot 1 wedding per day. We've also had some interesting scenarios where some of our couples have changed their plans but kept the date, so that maybe they are getting married on the same date but moving the reception to a future one, but they've decided to take the ceremony, someplace really cool, like down to Ruidoso or someplace really awesome, except that makes it a challenge for the vendors that now, have a 3.5-hour drive and may have a wedding the next day. Which is a scenario I'm working on currently. But we're trying as best we can to fit everyone in a way that works for everybody. And I think communication is ultimately the key. If you are thinking about rescheduling your wedding, connect with your vendors as soon as you can before you make any solid plans, just so that you can actually kind of see where everybody's at. Make sure that, people aren't, charging you a rescheduling fee, and you can get all those questions answered. And then, solidify those plans, and kind of making sure that whenever you think about a new date or new plans, that you do have an option A, B, or C. like, okay, so if this Saturday doesn't work out, are we okay getting married that same weekend, but either on the Friday or the Sunday or a Monday, or does it have to be that time frame, or can you schedule it, maybe another weekend on a different month, or thinking about what is most important for you that will fit with the vendors that you've already secured. And because we all want to be at your weddings, so we definitely, we've been really lucky. We've only had one cancellation for our 25 weddings for 2020, that more than half have rescheduled to 2021. And the one that canceled, actually, they broke up. So it doesn't really, that was going to happen anyway, I think, unfortunately, which it does sometimes. And that's love, but, and life. But we've done some weddings already. We just did 2 weddings, the past Saturday and the Saturday before, both pretty modified versions of their original plans. This last weekend, we did an amazing wedding ceremony in a church for the first time, where all the guests were socially distanced in all the pews. All the guests and the wedding party wore masks the entire ceremony, except for during the vows, when the bride and groom took communion, and then when they were actually announced to the audience. And they live streamed the event, so they were supposed to have 300 guests. They ended up having about 60, I think, when it came down to it. And but everybody was able to watch from home, which was really special. And so we're seeing all kinds of a variety of modifications that people are making. And we just encourage couples to really be open to making changes, and and recognizing that, yes, it may not be exactly the way you pictured it the first time around, but thinking about it in a positive way. Maybe you get to have 2 wedding days. Maybe you get to have a ceremony one day and then the big old party in 2021, when you don't have to worry about wearing masks, and everybody can be on the dance floor and hugging, and you don't have to be concerned that your family is going to be contracting the virus or sharing it with people who might be compromised. And or deciding that we're going to take that 150 person wedding and we're going to call it down to those 20 people that we really wanted to be there, and or just eloping, just the 2 of you. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that you can take a new approach to your wedding. But to answer the question about locking down those dates, yes, reach out to your vendors once you're thinking about changing, and then once you've talked to your vendors and you guys all come up with a date that works, lock it down. Because what we are seeing is we're seeing a lot of inquiries starting to come in for 2021, and they're having to navigate the 2020 weddings that have now pushed to 2021. And we are getting some couples that are still inquiring about the fall for 2020, but not as many. And so that means that the prime booking time is going to be 2021, and we want to make sure that everybody can get the date that they're looking for and at the venue that they want. And so we do suggest that time being of the essence, but also remaining flexible, because that's the way we live now.
That is, and it's a hard new reality of that. So what about, so Brian, let me ask you, because you're big on plans. What about how many alternate plans should these people make? What do you tell the people to do? And I know, because Brian just got done telling us that they had to cut off taking orders for this weekend. And so even though we always think that you're okay to be there and to be getting a cake, because you're not a limited commodity like the venues and like Megan is, but you can do a lot of them. That's not even the truth now, is it?
Yeah, like in our busy seasons, we can do like about 40 plus weddings a weekend, to go ahead and have my staff stay sane and execute everything to our standards. Now what we're doing is, during the consultation, I'm very straightforward with them as far as the cancellation policy, as far as the postpone policy. And typically in a consultation, I give them about 3 to 5 different designs. Instead of focusing on designs now, I'm going with 3 or 5 different plans. So we'll do, let's say, 2 different wedding dates or 3 different wedding dates with 2 head counts per day. So if it's on the 3rd, 17th, and 20th, we would do it where it's low end, you minimum 50 people, and you want as max of 120. So in my consultations, I'm actually breaking down about 6 quotes, 3 different designs. It kind of varies, but I try and give them as many options as possible. And we are having those people where they are really, really nervous as far as to go through the stress of changing their date and that constant updating, that constant communication. So what I do is I always reach out to my couples. It's standard. I do about 3 to 4 different reach outs, calls, emails, things like that. Now I'm almost doubling that. So I'll reach out even further to go ahead and just verify, hey, it's 2 months before your wedding. Has anything changed? Your head count? Do you have any questions? Just for us, I feel like they're very comfortable because they don't have to worry about us. We reach out to them. We remind them. We have 165 preferred venues. I would actually reach out to Raylene at the Courtyard Marriott and ask her, hey, how are this bride and this bride and this bride? How are they doing? Are their dates good? Things like that. So what we do a lot of behind the scenes as well to kind of ease that stress from them and give them more information. So if they're not asking certain things, we'll tell them and we'll guide them. But yes, we have to be as transparent as possible. This weekend, we're getting close to the high 400 orders. We had to limit some down, unfortunately. So we had this last minute wedding order. She just completed her contract yesterday, I think. Yeah. So I had to do a quick rush through and we had to really, really simplify and really cut it down. She was okay with it because she was aware when we spoke about 4 weeks ago. She was trying to wait last minute and she's like, no matter what, I want to get married. Okay, this is the plan. And I broke it down for her and she was okay with adjusting to going down to a very, very small 2-tier instead of the original design that was a 4-tier. So they're not being as shocked as I anticipated because I'm just trying to communicate with them as best as possible throughout all the steps.
So for you, how far in advance should they be setting up their cake order?
Typical orders are about 3 months prior to the event. Now I'm letting them know, just come to me as soon as possible. As soon as like 5 months, 7 months, do your first consultation. That goes over price of the design, the detail, and that gives you an overall guide. What is your budget? What are your backup plans? We don't know how the rest of the year is going to look, and we don't know how next year is going to look. It's better to be more informed than to be shocked on your wedding day and it'd be completely different. So I'll tell them to go ahead and do it as early as possible. And then to do contracts is now that 2 to 3 month window. And then we just communicate very closely until their wedding day. So even we've had people reschedule and postpone. I haven't had very, very small percentages cancellation. I want to say under 5. But besides that, everyone's been comfortable with postponing or reducing their head count.
That sounds good. Okay, and Jill, so you need to tell us what these brides are thinking because you're doing bachelorette parties and you're doing parties with them. Are they so anxious or are they in limbo? How can the vendors all help with leading them and how they're feeling?
Well, a lot of my brides have rescheduled and asked me to recontact them, and I've been doing that. I've got a couple scheduled for next month, but when we started getting the cancellations during the lockdown, my first choice was to reschedule with a virtual party, kind of like we're doing here. But a lot of my ladies wanted to wait till they could do one in person. And so some of them are still waiting, others rescheduled, and we've done it with a small group with no masks. And I have my masks with me. I'm happy to wear them, but people really are not concerned at all and just want to have a good time. Now,
They're all still waiting for
it
that time.
depends on the group. I did one up in the mountains last week in Colorado, and it was a big group and there was no concern whatsoever. And so it seems like just being up in the air about things and being okay with that is what everybody has to do right now. I'm grateful for, you know, whatever parties I get right now, and trying to be optimistic about it. And
Yeah, well, that's all you can do is just try to be flexible and go forward.
Yeah.
Before we go, who wants to? Let's have everybody just give some final words of what they would suggest to brides planning right now. What would you suggest, Jill? What are you telling everybody? Is it
as far as with me, I would talk to her about her situation, how many people she wants, and where we're going to do it, and what their comfort level is, to decide first if we want to do virtual or in person. Then I will pretty much fit in with whatever date she wants.
so basically though to be flexible and to think of all options?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm happy to do in person. I'm happy to do Facebook.
Great. And Brian, what are you trying to tell brides now when they're trying to come to you? Is it the same kind of message?
Kind of, yes. I would definitely communicate and trust in the professionals. It's our job to guide you and to inform you every step along the way, so to ease some of that burden. So you don't need to stay up being restless and thinking of all these different options. Email us, call us, reach out to us. It's our job to go ahead and do that. So yes, just trust in us. We will inform you, we'll guide you, we'll give you multiple days and backup plans and things. You don't have to add that extra burden.
Yeah, that sounds good. And Marty, what about you? What would you like to tell people? Oh, wait.
Marty, unmute yourself.
No,
There
I
you go.
got you unmuted. I think you're muted.
Perfect.
Sorry.
We are presenting very much similar to Brian's sentiments, where we reached out this week and said, we have been spending the last 3 months of lockdown planning and making things ready for you so that you don't have to worry about it. We want you to make the decision that you're comfortable with. And from there, we will pull out the plan that's going to work for what you need, and what will make you and your family comfortable, happy, healthy, safe to have your dream wedding happen. So I would say I'm really working on making us the flexible ones. So, as a venue, I don't have a lot of moving parts because of the way we're set up. I'm able to let the brides know, you have other concerns, but as far as your venue goes, let us handle your details, make the decision that's right for you.
Yeah, that sounds great. And that's reassuring. And Lane, what about you? What's your number one takeaway, or what's the bride's number one takeaway that you'd give them?
Well, I try to make it very much like everybody else. It's when you're a caterer and you're a sales, there's not anything else you can do. You can't be hard on the client, say make a decision, because then they're going to go somewhere else. So I pretty much stick to, let me take your details, let me get all the info, and I am allowing them to determine when they want to pick a new date or when they want to move forward. Moving forward just means limiting your party to 5 or 6 as of today. Mm-hmm. What does it mean next month? I don't know. But what I tell them is the club, the Canyon Club, is here for them regardless. And we are not holding any sort of financial issues with postponing or whatever. And that I am trying to get them to, I'm not sure who said it. Let me be the stress. Mm-hmm. Let me deal with all the stress of calling the DJ, calling Brian, or calling whoever. If you can come up with a backup date, then I will follow through with making sure that it happens. If it doesn't happen, then I will make it happen somehow. And every one of my vendors with all of my brides have been very, 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 very good. I had one tiny issue and that was it. So I'm here for them personally to do whatever makes them feel comfortable with going through with the planning process of their wedding. Whether it be this fall or next spring, I'm here to do whatever they want.
Yeah, that sounds great. And so, but what I'm hearing too is that they've got to come up with some kind of plan or plan ABC and to be talking to y'all about plan ABC. They can't just wing it until the week before. And they need to be getting something, put a rudder in the rudder in the water just to get something going to make sure that they know where they're headed. And even if it's first date, second date, third date. Is that what all of you would agree to?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And Megan,
Yep.
what about you? What would you tell them now? Or what are you telling them now?
Yeah, well, I think that, planning a wedding, regardless of what year it is, managing expectations is the number one thing that we can do as vendors, and that brides and grooms and couples should also be doing too. Because the thing that stresses people out on a wedding day is when their expectations are not met. So if you are waiting until the last minute, the week before the wedding, and then you're freaking out, it's because your expectation of what the day was going to look like has imploded. So what it is about setting those, those goals of A, B, and C, it means that yes, those expectations might be different for each of those plans, but at least you know what to expect. And then you can throw yourself into enjoying whatever plan ends up coming to fruition. But if you're, if you've got this one plan and it's going to be this or nothing, then you're not going to be happy on your wedding day. And that is the worst case scenario. We want you to be happy on your wedding day. And the best way that you can do that is to prepare yourself and to totally rely on your vendors. Lane said it, Brian said it, we've all been saying it, that, we are in the business of helping your wedding be amazing and being able to manage your stress levels. You are not alone in this process. Not just because every single couple getting married right now is dealing with this, but all of the vendors are too. And we've, because we are working with so many different couples, we've got a lot of really neat, creative, happy solutions that, you don't need to come to us and say, oh my gosh, like, I don't know what my plan is. And I'm really sorry. What you need to do is say, oh my gosh, I don't know what my plan is. What kind of advice do you have for me? And then we can put on our, our creative thinking hats and say, okay, let's think about this solution. And have you asked these questions to your venue, or, what kind of opportunities have they presented to you? And then we'll come up with a plan. We can make your wedding amazing, whether it's on the actual day, whether it's a modified version, whether it's fewer guests. There's infinite numbers of ways we can make it work. Just hang in there, breathe, and contact your vendors, because if you're trying to take this on all by yourself, it's going to be really, really overwhelming. And then, have those plans A, B, and C so that your expectations can still be exceeded, and your wedding day dreams can still be amazing.
Yeah, and like we've talked before on these calls, it like you're saying with the expectations, that's perfect. Even if it comes down to the 5-person that Lane was talking about, hey, you get to wear your wedding dress twice. Great. Then if it's bigger, great. Find the good things in any of it and celebrate that, and celebrate the basic bottom line is the only thing that matters in this wedding is that you're married at the end of it. So focus on the good things and not the things that are going wrong or that couldn't have been or what could be. You know what? You can get that on down the road when all this is over too. So.
Exactly. Well, and that ship has sailed, right?
Yeah.
Like, your original plans aren't going to be the original plans. Right. Just embrace it and figure out, okay, this is an interest. I mean, this is going to be something that we look back 30 years from now and go, holy cow, look what we did. Look what we had to deal with. Look at all the changes that we made. We want you to look back and go, actually, what we did was pretty amazing, all things considered, as opposed to, oh, I never got my dream wedding. That's gone. Scrap that. Start looking to, this new approach and find new and exciting, wonderful ways to celebrate your wedding. And maybe it means you get to have multiple parties and celebrations and, find that silver lining.
Yeah, ditto. I applauding everything you said. Well, thank you everybody for joining us, and we'll look forward to talking to you next week with a different topic for our wedding pros. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see
Good to see
everybody.
you.